Coming up on today's edition of Club 904, we have News Channel 5 Nashville Sports Radio's Jon Burton joining us behind enemy lines to break down the Jaguars Week 13 matchup with those hated Tennessee Titans. But first, right off the top, I'll give you my three big things coming out of the Jaguars. Impressive, chaotic, 27-24 overtime victory over the Arizona Cardinals. It's Titans hate week, folks. Let's get after it. What's up, everybody? Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Happy Thanksgiving week. Excited to be with you from the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel studios. Of course, live every day, 24/7. All of your favorite local programs. Just heard from Brent and Austin. You get them 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. They will be off Thursday and Friday for that Thanksgiving holiday, which we, of course, wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving. And thanks, as always, for supporting this program and all the programs over on Action Sports Jacks. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't to their various channels. Also, shout out to the boys on Instagram, Noah Schlicksup, who edits this podcast from time to time. They're doing a great job with the Blitz breakdown each and every Monday night, high school football live, wherever you get your Action Sports Jacks coverage. So make sure you throw them a like. They've got some really good stuff there, including some great content from the Jaguars locker room after a victorious 27-24 result against those Arizona Cardinals. We went into it on the postgame show. But just a couple notes right off the top, both from this game and also looking ahead to this matchup on Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. Do you want to remind you guys, if you have any comments, questions, you want to say that I'm dumb or you're funny, that's cool too. You can leave a comment. We appreciate you. We want the interaction. We want the engagement. We want to have a conversation with all out there in Duval. First observation coming out of this one. And again, as you guys heard on the postgame show, I was simultaneously hosting live on ESPN radio while also watching this game in preparation to cover it for the Jacksonville Jaguars local media and friends and fans and all that jazz. Point being, I have to go back and watch the game. And upon second watch, I know that there were questions about the offensive line. I understand, especially in the first half, there was a little bit more activity for the Arizona Cardinals front seven than perhaps Jaguar fans would have liked. On the other show that I do in Jaguars World with the Locked On Jaguar Squad show, Marcus Ogden, former Jaguar, former NFL pro, did a great job of breaking down this idea of a base versus a slide and the changes that were made. And you could tangibly see it between the first half and the second half. But what's interesting about that, I know at the very least on Hines-Allen's lone carry of the game, the idea of Ezra Cleveland got beat in his one-on-one matchup. And that's why the PFF pressure stats are so interesting coming out of this one, because they say that Ezra Cleveland and Walker Little gave up 0 pressures in this game. And now, granted, that's not a pressure because the quarterback had handed the ball off. That's a tackle for loss. But the point stands that those are your two best run-blocking offensive linemen through 12 weeks of the NFL season on this Jacksonville Jaguars roster. And so 0 pressures given up, even though to the naked eye, perhaps it wasn't actually that sort of day at the office for those two players along the left side, which, by the way, again, I said it on Sunday, I'll say it again, credit to Walker Little for coming back into the ball game after suffering an injury. I know we all love to think tough guys, they're going to come back, they're paid to do this. Not everyone does. Credit to Walker. Credit to Danny Strigow, too, which is my number 2 takeaway from this game. Want to dive a little bit further inside the numbers. Our friend Dan Griffiths over at actionnewsjacks.com did an amazing job of looking into Josh Hines-Allen's resurgence over this recent 3-game stretch that really not only has been about 41, but it's been about this entire defensive front. And so a couple things to look at. 40% plus pressure rate in each of the last 3 games. Those are the only 3 games this year in which Anthony Campanelli's defense has had a pressure rate higher than 40%. What's the common denominator between the Texans game, the Chargers game, and now this recent victory over the Arizona Cardinals? A lot of blitzing, to be clear, and I know that that's been a big takeaway for many coming out of this game. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, look at the Eric Armstead, Devon Hamilton idea of it all, with those two players creating pressure, getting and affecting the quarterback. Officially, Eric Armstead had 7 pressures against the Arizona Cardinals. Hamilton only had 2. He did have a sack, though. And in creating some push from the interior, that is allowing for those edge rushers to create. And it's also, of course, aided by the idea of Devin Lloyd lining up in a slot nickel position and actually coming in through the B gap and creating pressure as well. Devin Lloyd, 5 quarterback hits. He had 4 coming into the game. He had 5 in this game alone. He had 14 pressures coming into this game. He finished with those 5 quarterback hits. So all 5 times he got in the backfield, he hit the quarterback. Roughing the passer call was BS, but I digress. 1.5 sacks to go along with it, too. 1.5 sacks for Dennis Gardeck as well. That was my biggest takeaway on Sunday, and quite frankly, it remains my biggest takeaway. I do not have an update for you, and you didn't hear an update from Liam Cohen, at least that I heard, yesterday in his availability on Monday with regards to 44's availability moving forward after suffering that knee injury against the Chargers. He did re-enter the game. And then he exited the game, he exited the game. He came back into the game. He did not play against the Arizona Cardinals. So we do not have an update on Trayvon. But this idea of Josh Hines-Allen actually lining up on the left side, the most snaps we've seen from him on the left side of the offensive line in Trayvon's absence, Dennis Gardeck lining up at the right, along the right side at the pure edge rusher wide 9 spot, or having Danny Strigow line up there. And the results you got, folks, I mean, they speak for themselves. This is the context I want to give you all. And I know it's a small sample size for the undrafted free agent out of Minnesota. And I know BJ Green didn't get as much run, perhaps, against the Cardinals as he did against the Chargers. It'll be curious to see against the Titans and then the Colts the following week how much run you see from 95. But Josh Hines-Allen has an 18.8% pass rush win rate. 18.8. That is 8th in the National Football League. Danny Strigow has an 11.1% pass rush win rate. And for further context, and then I'll add more context to that, DeJuan Smoot has a 6.4% pass rush win rate. Manuel Agba, 4% pass rush win rate. Those last two are 112th and 118th in the National Football League this year. You are getting something, if only because offenses don't know who he is. You are getting something out of 92 right now, and you need to continue to lean into that. The effort is there. The fact that he already is running some games and stunts with Josh Hines-Allen and coming up over a guard, I think is massive. And then you couple that with the speed ball, the off-speed pitch that is Dennis Gardeck, and the resurgence of Eric Armstead, who said on his podcast, in case you missed it, all that talk about the Jaguars trading for an interior defensive line, that, little fire under him, little fire under Devon, sometimes the media is a good thing, I suppose. Point being, I think the combination of the players that you have available, whether Trayvon Walker is available against the Tennessee Titans or not, creates such mismatches. And if used properly, creates so many different chess pieces. And I'm fascinated to see how Anthony Campanelli couples that with a secondary that I thought had a pretty decent day. I know Trey McBride, 79 yards. Michael Wilson goes over 100. That's going to happen. But point being, they brought pressure with Jarian Jones. Antonio Johnson had a sack in this game. Both those players were credited with 1 pressure apiece. Dewey Winger had 2 pressures in this game, obviously had the big pass breakup at the end. You can do a lot of different things with these players who, for so long, because it's largely the same roster as last year, and a lot of the same pieces of 2023 too, we've talked about the idea of positionless defense in Jacksonville. Players who you can rush them. They can drop back in coverage, even if they're not great at it. They can do that if you just give them one sole assignment. They can defend the run. You are seeing that come to fruition, and I'm curious to see how that orchestra actually plays out and if it is harmonious against the Tennessee Titans. But hey, a 40% plus pressure rate. I know that those 3 offensive lines are not exactly the greatest in the National Football League, with the Texans, of course, being constantly questioned because of the rotating pieces they've had along their offensive front. The Chargers down to their 5th left tackle option, and then their 6th after they benched Trevor Penning. And then against the Arizona Cardinals, those were their 2 starting tackles, Kelvin Beachum and Paris Johnson, to be clear, but the interior was a bit makeshift after some other injuries, and then Jonah Williams was placed on IR last Friday. Final takeaway from me before we take our first time out. We'll hit some questions before that. Don't you worry. I see you boys hanging out in the YouTube chat. And then we'll catch up with our friend Jon Burton up in Nashville. Cam Ward. Are you worried? Are you guys worried about Cam Ward? I want to hear from you. Leave a comment, leave a question, because I hopped on with the boys from the Locked On Jaguars squad show, Locked On Titans squad show this morning. And there's a lot of buzz up there in Nashville that they feel like Cam Ward is starting to put it together a little bit. Now, granted, His offensive line, his receiving options with Calvin Ridley done for the year are not exactly, the same as what he probably thought he'd have in his rookie campaign. My concern with Cam Ward, and I actually was going back and listening to some old tape from a season ago, not tape of the game, tape of my broadcasting. My concern remains this idea of mobile quarterbacks. The Jaguars this season, it's not like they've had to face Lamar Jackson up to this point. Jacoby Brissett's not exactly navigating the pocket per se in the same vein that Josh Allen is, or you get what I'm saying. They haven't faced a ton of mobile quarterbacks this year. And we know from a season ago, in terms of EPA per play, they were bottom 5 in the league going up against mobile quarterbacks. And so I'm curious how much Cam Ward uses to use his legs to create. He only had 37 yards on the ground last week for 6 carries. He finished 28 of 42 for 256 yards, only a 6.1 yards per completion average, which I would expect him to push the ball more downfield. But when Chimere Dike is essentially your number one option, with all due respect to Eli Maynor and I guess Gunnar Helm and Xavier Restrepo, everybody. Van Jefferson's cool too. I'm curious if you guys are worried about Cam Ward, because that was what was posed. That question was posed to me on that Titans podcast this morning. And I think that people in Jacksonville recognize the threat he can be. I also think it's a low bar to clear with the roster the Titans have right now in terms of who the biggest X factor is in this matchup. Let's see who's hanging out with us here in Club 904. The one King David, always tuning in to Club 904 and all our Jaguars coverage. Ether Dark, was Sunday a good day for Cam and Tennessee or a mid-bad day for Darnold? Well said. That's an interesting note there, Ether Dark. Sam Darnold in that game finished 16 of 26 for 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, an average of 9.4 yards per completion. But so much of that was due to that 63-yard bomb from Darnold to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And to that end, I just love the stat lines for Sam Darnold. It looks similar to the one that we saw when they faced the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is the definition of a game manager, but they are winning ball games. Let's take our first break. Jon Burton's coming on here in about 4 minutes time. Get ready, folks. It's time to go behind enemy lines next here on Club 904.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
There we go. Welcome back to a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Appreciate all you guys hanging out with us live. In case you missed any of today's program, you, of course, can listen on demand at the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel, YouTube, as well as wherever you get your podcast. John Burton, just moments away from joining us, had a little bit of an internet snafu. I know some of you guys were hoping we'd get Ramon Foster of 104.5 The Zone, formerly the Titans sideline reporter, now the sideline reporter for the Tennessee Volunteers. He sends his regards. Jam-packed with coverage for both squads today up in Nashville, but hopefully we'll get Ramon on at some point because he's definitely, if we're going to break down some offensive line tape, he's someone who I'd love to pick his brain here on Club 904. He actually had Sean Sarrett as his offensive line coach when he was in Pittsburgh, so we'll get him on maybe for that final week of the regular season for your Jacksonville Jaguars. I put out the bat signal. I asked you guys, are you worried about Cam Ward? Boy, oh boy, did you boys respond. First and foremost, I got to get to this one from Duval TV. Calvin Ridley's new name is Midley. Okay. Well, he's done for the year either way. So way to hurt a man when he's down. But hey, I'm okay with it. That's fine. Okay. Thank you, Duval TV. Ether Dark, just disappointed we can't get Wingard Buster stacked on Ridley this year. Let's see what Jon Burton has to say about that one as we welcome Newschannel 5 Zone. I mean, you're all over the scene in Nashville. He's got the Newschannel 5 button up on, though. So what is going on, brother man? Appreciate you hanging out with us here on the pod.
Mia, always a pleasure. You know, I'm just a guy from New York who roots for the Giants and follows the Titans. My life is great.
We'll talk about the best intro I think we've had this entire season of all of our guests who've joined this podcast. That's probably the best place to start, John. You know, we want to start with Cam Ward, who is the bright spot up there in Nashville, but we probably need to start with the head coaching situation, especially with an old friend in Mike McCoy, the interim. What do you make of the prospects of the structure and just where this franchise moves forward from here? I mean, compare it to your Giants. Who's in a better spot right now, the Giants or the Titans?
It's probably a push right now. But and speaking of the Titans, I think right now they're actually in a better spot because Mike Borgonzi is in his first season as general manager, and he's had a really good draft. They've had some impact rookies. Shimmer DK, another punt return for a touchdown this past week. That's 2 now in 3 games. He also caught a touchdown pass. Alex Eilmanor, the other wide receiver, was doing well before he got hurt. Gunnar Helm is a good young tight end that they drafted. And even though Borgonzi didn't draft him, I'm looking at a middle linebacker in Cedric Gray, who's basically in his rookie season, got drafted last year but missed all the season. He's been impactful. So my take with the Titans, and I've been saying this on my radio show all week, the best thing they can do is let Borgonzi cook and get out of the way. And I'm talking about Amy Adams Strunk, the owner, and I'm talking about Chad Brinker, the president of football operations. Borgonzi, you know, he spoke in the bye week. He was very matter of fact and honest about the state of this football team. And I, for one, believe in him. I think he can turn the thing around, but gotta let him do his thing and not interfere. And that's going to be the key. If that doesn't happen, you've seen that. You've been following this league for a long time, Mia. You know, teams can turn it around in a year if you do it right. You know what you're doing. I think they've got the right guy in place. You know, I'm hearing Joe Shane is going to be retained as a Giants GM, even though they're going to be looking for a new head coach. Not 100% sure if that's the right move, but we'll find out. But I feel good about Borgonzi. And it's been a horrible season. The record's awful. You know, the fans are apathetic. They're not even mad anymore. They're just apathetic. But I really think they've got the right GM in place to hopefully turn this thing around in Borgonzi.
Hey, listen, Jaguar fans have been there with the apathy. They're in the chat right now. They know it all too well, Jon Burton of Newschannel 5. To that end, we had Ben Arthur from Fox Sports on a few weeks ago during our bye week here in Jacksonville. And, he said, he's the best. He's the best. And so Ben hinted at what I have heard, and obviously you hear from boots on the ground, that, the president and Chad Brinker is kind of the common denominator through a lot of the struggles of the insert new head coach, insert new GM, insert new head coach, still not finding consistency. Will other changes be required in Nashville besides Mike Borgonzi hitting on another draft and then also hitting on the head coaching hire? Because obviously the idea of the owner saying we are not going to do any trades with the Patriots is a problem in and of itself. But when the team president is not intervening on that, but is intervening on other fronts, bit of a red flag to me.
Well, as someone who's very petty and, vengeful, I love that fact that they're not going to do business with the Patriots. I love the pettiness there. But you need a guy who's going to be a leader of men. I would prefer to hire somebody, much like with the Giants situation. I would prefer to see them hire somebody with previous head coaching experience and success, just to kind of, restructure the organization, rebuild the culture for, let's say, 3 to 5 years. And after that, if you want to go after a hot young coordinator guy, go ahead and do it. But right now, I think this coaching hire is extremely important. Okay. New stadium's coming in 2027. Goodell was here. Was it last week last week, basically strongly hinting that, Nashville is going to get a Super Bowl. A lot of fans have been complaining about the PSLs and the ticket prices at the new barn. You got to get this right. You got to get to winning before that stadium opens its doors. So it's going to be critical. And again, if I'm Chad Brinker, I'm leaning on Mike Borgonzi to make this hire, or at least spearhead this hire. Obviously, I would have me being Chad Brinker in this situation. But Borgonzi's the key to everything, in my opinion. I can't stress it. Let this guy do the important legwork here, do the heavy lifting to get this franchise back on track, because I truly believe he's capable of doing it.
We got a little bit of internet issues, but we're going to power through them. We can still hear you, John. So you know what? If it doesn't match the video, no big deal. As long as we can hear your great insight coming to us from Nashville as we go behind enemy lines. To the point of the Giants versus Titans comparison, because those are the two franchises in the NFL right now that do not have head coaches. Do you feel, given you are a Giants fan, but you cover the Titans, the quarterback situation, because there's a lot of these redrafts already occurring midway through the class of 2025's rookie campaign. Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, who would you rather have right now for the next 4 years?
Wow. I think he's got a better feel for not only the passing game, but just the NFL in general. And I think his swagger and the way he's able to bring his teammates up with him. I will say this about Cam Ward. I believe he's coming off his best game so far this year. Last week, I thought he the game pretty well, took what the defense gave him, used his checkdowns. Hey, there's.
And now we lost John. There it is. That damn internet. That's okay. We'll try to get John back here momentarily. But hey, to his point, Cam Ward coming off of arguably his best game of his rookie campaign. And so is that something that Jacksonville will have to be prepared for the next step here in the next week against when the Jaguars head up to Nissan Stadium for the first time this year? And again, in case you missed it, Cam Ward's stat line against the Seattle Seahawks, 28 of 42 for 256 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions, 37 yards on the ground on 6 carries. Here are some of the players that he's throwing the ball to during this rookie campaign. Oh, wait, John's back. Here we go. Let's get him. He's back. Are you on your phone or are you on your laptop? What are we doing with? What are we working with right now?
I'm on my phone. I'm having all kinds of internet issues here. I don't know what's going on.
You're good
here
right now. If this is the phone, let's stick to the phone, man. The phone.
Okay, we'll stick to the phone. Anyway, as I was saying, I thought Cam Ward had a really solid game last week. I thought he managed the game well, used his checkdowns, took off and ran when it was available, and he let his playmakers make plays for him. I think he's finally starting to get it from that standpoint. So I think the future's bright for both guys when you're talking Jackson Dart and Cam Ward.
So here is, I was just about to rattle off the names of the pass catchers that Cam Ward is throwing to at this juncture with Calvin Ridley done for the year. Gunnar Helm, Chimere Dike, of course, the two running backs and Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, Chikakonkwo, James Prochet, Xavier Restrepo, Van Jefferson. Which of those gentlemen should Jaguar fans maybe be a little concerned about in this matchup?
I would say DK. Right now, he's probably the most reliable playmaker. But in terms of being a possession guy and move the chains, Gunnar Helm has proven to be that guy. Chikakonkwo is a guy that, he'll give you some flash, but he's not as consistent, I believe, as Gunnar Helm, who was on his way to being TE1 for this team. But DK, he's got the speed, and he also has an understanding of the passing game as well. And, he's gotten into a really good rhythm with Cam Ward. So DK's I think he's on his way to the Pro Bowl as a kick returner. I mean, he's having an outstanding year, but he's making it happen in the offense as well with his speed and his ability to run routes. So he's one of those young guys with an old soul. Like he understands it. He gets it, as we like to say in the business, for a rookie.
Hey, 6 years in college, including the last few there at the University of Florida. So a name that Jaguar fans are familiar with if they also follow the Gators. I will tell you this, John. We were in the media room when Chimere Dike went to the Titans, and a lot of my contemporaries on the beat here were shocked. I was not. I had been tipped off by multiple executives that the NFL really liked what Chimere Dike was cooking down there in Gainesville, and it has come to fruition here in his rookie campaign. To the run game real quick before we flip it on over to the defensive side of the ball. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, second year of that pairing. Has there been notable improvement, knowing, of course, that Bill Callahan, the offensive line coach, exits stage right? The offensive line is still largely the same group from the start of the year? Or how much rotating has there been up
Dan Moore got banged up. Dan Moore, the left tackle, got banged up in this last game, so we're not sure what his status is going to be for the Jaguars game. But, yeah, largely they've been together. Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry at the center, obviously the veteran Kevin Zeitler at right tackle, and J.C. Latham at right guard. But I say they're not physical enough, and that's an issue. And as far as one game goes, the season's all pretty effective, but they've fallen off significantly over the last several weeks. And to be honest, Pollard and Spears hasn't been that potent 1-2 punch that we thought they would be, either in the running or the passing game. We really thought that those would be nice check down safety valves for Cam Ward, a rookie quarterback that can, if it's 3rd and 6, you can, dump it off to one of those guys for 4 yards and they can break a tackle and get the first down. We've seen a little bit of that, but not consistently enough. And obviously Spears missed the first, I believe, 4 games of the season. He was on IR to start the season. So, yeah, the run game has not been as consistent as, even the short passing game to the running backs has not been as consistent as we, I guess, were expecting coming into the season. So that certainly needs to pick up, because when you have a rookie quarterback, his best friend is a good running game, a good safety valve game. And, hopefully we'll see that a little bit more over the last stretch of the season.
Okay, so just tell me this, John, before we look to Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, who, I'd argue are probably the 2 best players on the roster at this juncture. What can the Titans hang their hat on? Is it just Chimere Dike and his return ability? What is the one thing that it's wow, this actually did go right so far in 2025? And yes, there's still 6 games to play, so things could change.
Yeah, it's special teams, to your point, Mia, because Bones Fossil has come in as a new special teams coach, and they've been consistent, especially in the return game. Their kick coverage has been good, not great, but certainly better than last year. So, yeah, the one thing you could say is special teams has been greatly improved, because there's been a lot of inconsistencies on both offense and defense. So I would say the return game with DK and special teams is the one thing that Titans fans feel good about. So, which is good, but it's not ultimately what you want, right? You want your offense to be good and physical. You want your defense to create turnovers, get after the opposing quarterback, stop the run. Hopefully that's coming in the future. But right now, I would say special teams.
Which, you have Jeffrey Simmons on the roster. So what's the deal there? I know there's been a lot of media back and forth too. What's the state with Big Jeff?
Big Jeff is frustrated. He's tired of losing, and he's a guy that busts it every week, no matter the record, no matter the score. And he doesn't quite understand, I think, why the rest of the team doesn't have his kind of mentality, or at least maybe he thinks that way. And he just after the game, the previous game, he just let it all go. He said, I can't sugarcoat this anymore. We're out there. They played a great defensive game, and they kept him in the game. And then you have continually pre-snap penalties on the offense. Guys, false starting at home, right, where there's no real crowd to contend with, although the opposing crowds are starting to get loud and boisterous and letting themselves be known when they come into Nissan Stadium, right? He's frustrated. And by and large, I can't blame him. This is a guy that worked his way back from a hamstring on a one-win football team. A star like him, the money he's making, he could have easily said, I need to give it another week. To get in the lineup and so listen, Titans believe in him. And his way to praise Big Jeff, to say this guy's a huge part of our future here. It doesn't work without him. So the belief is there. He's just frustrated, and quite frankly, I can't blame him, because you're going to get 4 quarters of everything that guy has. And I think he wants the rest of the team to follow suit. And it's tough to be a leader on an NFL team, Mia, as you know. It's even tougher on a one-win team that's probably hurtling towards getting the number 1 draft pick again for a second straight year.
Oh, thankfully we have firsthand experience with that one, John, here in Jacksonville. That's the good news, for the sake of this podcast, at least. T'Vondre Sweat, up, down, second year in the league. I mean, obviously lined up next to Jeffrey Simmons. I would think that's a pretty potent 1-2 punch. Yes. Yeah,
but they haven't been as great, stopping the run, especially in the A gap. So that's a great question. It could be scheme. It could be, there's been rumblings about Sweat maybe not being in the best shape. He missed a lot of training camp because he was a little banged up, and on a big fellow like that, you need training camp. You need that day-to-day grind to help get yourself in good shape. So maybe his conditioning, is probably, I've been hearing maybe it's not completely where it needs to be. And he's been seeing which right in there, but I still think the arrow is pointing up for T'Vondre Sweat, but I thought I'd see more impact plays, more TFLs, and maybe some more pressure on the quarterback by now. But for whatever reason, we haven't seen it on a consistent basis.
2 more for you, John, because not only are we continuing to battle the internet, we're doing much better this go around. So, hey, thumbs up. But also,
Good.
I know you got to catch a flight later on this afternoon ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. So, number 1, who else defensively? I know you mentioned the linebacking core with Gray, but who else defensively have the Titans been able to say, okay, that's a building block. That's someone who is showing up on the scouting report for the opposition week in and week out?
I would say Arden Key. He missed a few games at outside linebacker with injury, but he's been more consistent getting after the quarterback, which is why he's here. He's been a lot more active. And a guy I think you want to keep your eye on is their rookie safety, Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. Started the season banged up. He was actually banged up when he got drafted. He's getting a lot more playing time now. Obviously, they made some trades. They moved on from some guys in the secondary, so they're going to give him a good long look the rest of the season. And I believe he had like 8 or 9 tackles the other day. He got burned by JSN on a long pass play. But I mean, JSN might be the best receiver in the NFL. But keep your eye out on Kevin Winston Jr. at safety, the rookie. I really, really like what I see from him, and he's just got a good feel for the game. So yeah, obviously Big Jeff, but Arden Key coming off the edge. They got to get more consistency with the pass rush. Obviously. A really good physical middle that not afraid to stick his head in and happen.
And of course, that pass rush and the secondary, they need to work in perfect harmony, as Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator here in Jacksonville, likes to say. John, I think we still have you, even if your camera is a little frozen. So now he's back. Okay, so here's the final question before we get you on out of here and off to the airport up in Nash Vegas. Why is it, because I've heard from multiple people today, John, why is it that Titans fans think they have a chance against the Jaguars to finally get another win in the win column for the second time in 2025?
Well, that's news to me. I haven't heard that, but I will say this. I will say
Like
this.
3 times today. I'm like, they're like I've heard it from people like in the NFL. I've heard it from fans. I've heard it from like media people. I'm like,
Really?
oh,
Okay. Well, all right.
people today. I was like, okay.
Well, I guess because maybe there's, the fans, some of the fans, not all, but some of the fans maybe just don't have a healthy respect for the Jaguars. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been a good quarterback, but a lot of people here think he's overrated, quite frankly. Not me, or not most people in the media don't feel that way, but a lot of fans feel that way. He's overrated, and, and I think they just feel like, hey, we got to get another win sometime. Why couldn't it be at home against, a division rival that we know? That's the best I can come up with, because I haven't run into anybody saying, "Oh yeah, we got this. We're going to beat the Jaguars." That hasn't come across me at all.
Okay, so there you go, from the horse's mouth, boots on the ground. At least one reporter up there in Nashville, and Jon Burton is saying, yeah, no, that they're looking towards the tankathon standings. They are not concerned about trying to take down an AFC South foe. Although I do love, from Buck Rising from 104.5 The Zone. I guess this was a debate in the press box a few weeks ago about the last time that the Titans played a game that was competent, and it was Vrabel's finale with Derrick Henry's swan song. And like the
Yep.
last time you guys left the press box feeling good was that game, and that was against the Jags. So,
And I will say this. Buck's been very frustrated this year. Buck's been a treat in the press box this year. He's just he crashes out about middle of the third quarter of every game.
I'm honestly sad. I'm sad I'm not making the trip now, because I would like to witness this and also
out
hang
to
out
Buck.
with you.
Yeah, shout out to Buck. Buck's my guy, man. But yeah, we're trying. We're doing the best we can up here.
Hey, listen, we've been there. We know your struggle. I know that there's plenty of people, the nearly 300 who are watching live on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch right now. They know that that this is not the most fun road to go down, but the pain is part of the path, as Brad Stevens once said. But I also know that a lot of them hate the Titans, so they're just leveling in this too. So hey, we entertained them one way or another today, John. Appreciate you, and of course, let the folks know where they can catch your work, both online and on the television screen and on the radio dial too.
Thanks. Sorry for the internet issues, everybody. But you can catch me on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio, every weekday mornings, 10 to noon, your time down there in Duval, 9 to 11 local time here in Nashville. You can stream it live on WNSR.com. Find out what we're talking about here in Nashville as we deal with a bad Titans team and a bad Predators hockey team. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jon Burton 3234. Use JON, not JOHN, because I'm actually Jonathan and not JOHN. Jon Burton 32 on Instagram as well. And if you're in Nashville and you're on Broadway on any given night, you'll probably see me.
Hey, and if you're in the gym too, because if you're looking for somebody to get you lifting weights and getting into shape, this is your guy, folks. Especially if any of you are listening from Tennessee. We do have a nice little Jags Bold City Brigade up there, so maybe some of them are catching the pod, and I'll make sure they connect you. So
absolutely, you're not making the trip, Mia.
Not making the trip. Calling the basketball games at UNF, and then I've got ESPN Radio tonight and Thursday. And sometimes they just text me the morning of and say, "Oh, can you do tonight?" So, which we're here for. So, which, hey, listen, it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. It's been a great first few months with the gig, and but yes, very sad I will not be in Nashville on Sunday, but looking forward to my next trip up there, and we will do Broadway, and maybe the Predators will actually be good. So at least there's one sports team to speak of. Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia.
Yeah, Diego Pavia for the Heisman, baby. Let's go.
I've been saying it for months, my friend. I've been saying it. I am ready. If nothing else, he gets the Stetson Bennett Lifetime Achievement Award, which actually started with Trevor Lawrence. People forget. So the Lifetime Achievement nomination, please give it to Diego before he finds a way to get another year of eligibility. Appreciate you, John. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Happy Thanksgiving, Mia. Thank you.
Right back at you. Jon Burton, of course, of Newschannel 5 and Nashville Sports Radio. Appreciate him hopping on here in Club 904, and appreciate you guys rolling with the punches with all the internet stuff. And of course, appreciate John's steadfastness and making sure that we got our intel ahead of this Jaguars-Titans matchup. One more segment to go. Let's take another time out. And when we return, I'll let you guys hear from Josh Hines-Allen. Brent and Austin caught up with him this morning at the blood drive that he and his wife and their 41 for All group, their nonprofit, organized in support of not only in honor of their son Wesley, who of course is now cancer-free, but for other young people who need blood as they too battle cancer. Club 904 continues on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel right after this.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Choose your own adventure. It's not just a saying, but a way of life here at Cycles of Jacksonville. And whether it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels, at Cycles of Jacksonville, a great adventure awaits. With brands like Honda, Vespa, Segway, and Triumph, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with their inventory featuring a 60,000 square foot building. If 4 wheels is more your thing, check out the largest selection of Honda Talons in the entire county. No matter what you're looking for, Cycles of Jacksonville is going to have the selection you need, all with great financing and rebates. Plus, if you're active duty military, Cycles of Jacksonville will offer you 0% financing along with great discounts for military and first responders. And when you want to get off the road and set sail, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with everything you need to get on the water. So if you're ready for a great adventure, let Cycles of Jacksonville be your guide. Located off Atlantic Boulevard, or check out their website at cyclesofjacksonville.com.
Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%. You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I feel like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer. You can schedule a test drive at NimnichtBuickGMC.com, and while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnicht is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnicht. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
I swear I'm going to get that mute button right at some point in time. Yes, Gene. Welcome back into Club 904. Before we get to our live Q&A, before we put a bow on a Tuesday edition of the program, I do want you guys to have a listen to Josh Hines-Allen, who caught up with Brent and Austin today during their program, which, of course, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Monday through Friday here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. They, of course, were meeting, and the show was live from Southern Grounds, where Josh and his wife, Caitlin, were hosting a blood drive in honor of their son, Wesley, and for others who are fighting cancer and need life-saving blood. Be sure to go check out the full interview. It's over at the Action Sports Jacks YouTube channel. But for the sake of this podcast, wanted you guys to have a listen, especially from Josh with regards to the defensive alignments we saw from he and the Big Cats' defense against the Arizona Cardinals, lining up on the left side, affecting the quarterback. What went into that?
A positive.
I think obviously coming into the Chargers game after losing, to Houston the way we did, it was a frustrating feeling, but it was also like we're a good enough team to lock back in and kind of play with that aggression. And then, my thing was we can't always play angry.
Yeah.
And so my thing was, what can we take away from that week of practice to kind of help us prepare? And I think it was just a focus thing, guys coming out here, setting a standard. Like we talked about, what's our standard? What's the standard? I think our standard is us focusing throughout the week and being mentally prepared to play individually, and then that cultivated everybody to play at a higher level, higher standard, hold everybody to we need you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like as a defense, because I can only really speak for my side of the ball when I talk about knowing what we got going on. It's like we were all like bought into this is what we're doing. Our standard is what we come and do on Wednesday, how we take care of our bodies on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, how does that look? Are we coming out there bull crapping, not taking practice serious, or are we coming out there communicating, stopping the play when we don't think everything's right so we can get the right look? And guys are just really taking a big lead on that, and I think that's been our focus moving forward. And I feel like that right there is our standard. And if we can come out each week and play with that type of confidence in practice, to come out there and know that we can beat anybody. So when we do step on the field on Sunday, it's like, man, coach is gonna call a game plan for us, and we just got to go out there and play fast, physical, and do what we do, and can't nobody mess with us.
Pressure percentage, by the way, last 3 games, according to Daniel Griffiths, the best it's been all season. So it looks like you guys have really found something. I thought you, and I'm not saying, I said this yesterday, so it's not just because you're here. I thought you were awesome on Sunday. It just felt like, I think you ended up with 1 sack, but that wasn't the story. I think a lot of people are like, sacks.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, I thought you created a lot of that, and Eric did too. I thought there was a lot of creation with that push. Did it feel like everybody kind of worked together well in that game, about as maybe good as it's been? Everybody, and a lot of different guys mixing in and out of there too, with the newcomers, with Green and Strigo, and what Gardeck's been doing too, and even Lloyd. Lloyd had 5 hits, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's major. I think for me, my job is to, wreck the play, wreck the game. You know what I'm saying? And, obviously you can do that with sacks, but you can also do that with getting that quarterback uncomfortable. If I can make the quarterback uncomfortable, if I can look into the tackle's eyes and know that, like, dang, how the hell am I going to stop this guy? You know what I'm saying? I know that has an effect not only on the person that's going against me, but their whole offense as a whole. And I think me lining up on the other side this week kind of was like, whoa, a punch to them, like, whoa, wasn't expecting this. So now you got pressure immediately in your face. I think that kind of, affects the game a little bit well. So for me, man, just how well can I stay in the zone? How well can I, affect the game? I was pissed. I went back. I'm still looking at, like, areas where I can, eventually, like, get the sack, because I'm getting good pressure. He did a good job on evading me and, stepping in, stepping out, finding holes. So I think when we do that, I think collectively we can get better at that as a whole, and we can rush a little bit more sounder when it comes to that. If I got him pushing the pocket, man, let's just get middle push to make him. He can't step up. That's how Devon got the sack. So if we can kind of hone into all that, I think we can take our game to another level, and I can take my game to another level, and that's what we need to do here on out. We got to play meaningful football game. We're playing meaningful football games now, and we need the upfront to dominate each and every week moving forward. So that's our expectations, and that's what I'm ready to do.
Teach me some football, though, real quick. I thought that was great that you moved over. We've seen guys.
I swear, 3 for 3 on the muted mic today. I know you guys who are watching live, the 350 plus of you are getting a kick out of this. And of course, fell asleep at the wheel with the recording from our friends over with the Brent and Austin show. Appreciate Josh Hines-Allen taking the time to join that program. And again, the full conversation is available if you head on over to the Action Sports Jacks YouTube channel, or catch Brent and Austin wherever you get the show on demand. Let's get some Q&A before we get on out of here. I know you guys had a lot to say with regards to, of course, the Tennessee Titans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, go round number 1 for the 2025 season. Titan supporters have never been bright, not worried about Cam. My goodness, you guys crack me up. Thank you, Jags Lawyer. You crack me up. And of course, Jags Lawyer is a member of the O'Brien NFL Notebook community, which you can subscribe. Look at the link scrolling right down, patreon.com/the O'Brien NFL Notebook. You can subscribe today, free 7-day trial, $5 per month. Subscriptions are where we begin. And we had a nice, fun live Q&A yesterday. So if you guys want to be a part of that, be sure to check that out. Some other questions. Thank you, Daniel Kilkenny, always hanging out with us here in Club 904. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Mia and the fellow clubbers. Indeed. Ether Dark would like to give a shout out to Buster and Antonio, quietly having really good seasons. I would agree with that. And that's a conversation that I think a lot of folks around the building are having. And I think just around the league, it's hard to play defensive back in the National Football League in 2025. And so while fans may be disappointed when they see a stat line that says 3 catches for 47 yards. That's a pretty good day at the office, especially when it's 0 touchdowns allowed, even if it's 0 interceptions, 0 pass breakups. If you're able to hold a receiver, especially when you're going up against a number 1 wide receiver like Buster Brown has had to the last few weeks, if you're able to limit him to that sort of production, I'd say that's a pretty good outing. And I think we need to understand, kind of like with the sack conversation with 41, he has 60 pressures this season. That is 3rd in the National Football League. And I know you want sacks, you don't want pressures, but make sure you want sacks from the perspective of that is what stops a play. Pressures don't necessarily stop a play. They don't stop a quarterback from extending the play, escaping the pocket, throwing the ball while on the run. But I think for a fact, you can argue with the pass or with the with pressures, I do think that they affect them, just like with if you're able in coverage to limit the yardage. I think that it's kind of goes hand in hand, right? Pressures, coverage, yardage, pass breakups and interceptions, sacks. There is a little bit of a difference there, though. So I think that's important to note. So, yes, let's give some Antonio and Buster love in here. Let's continue. Paladin, Cam Ward is a good player. Titans are not good. The Titans are not good. They will ruin him. I'm glad that John, and I apologize for the internet issues. So does he. I know that I'm glad that he led with the Chad Brinker of it all and the Mike Borgonzi of it all. And this idea of that is the one thing outside of Shamir DK and special teams, which, yes, Ether Dark, I would argue the Jaguars special teams much improved over the last 5-6 weeks, because I do think the Titans actually had the upper hand, if only in coverage. And then, of course, the Cam Little drought and Logan Cook's not so great season comparatively to his last 5 years, which have been all pro worthy. So to that end, I do think that the special teams is the one thing they can rest their hat on. But the other thing that they can rest their hat on is Mike Borgonzi. And this idea, if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, of you have a descendant from the Kansas City Chiefs, Brett Veachtree, and you have to cling to that and hope that he's going to continue to hit on draft picks. He's going to hit on their next coach, which, by the way, I saw it in the chat and I agree. I think Mike McCarthy is Nashville bound. And it's the same exact move that the Jaguars made in 22 when they hired Doug Peterson, from the perspective of, we just need to get back to equilibrium. We just got to get to neutral. We need to be a respectable franchise again that's not picking number 1 each and every year in the NFL draft. And I think that that's what Mike McCarthy would do. He'll elevate Cam Ward to being a good starting quarterback. He will get the entire operation going back to being professional again. He has already dealt with Jerry Jones. He can handle Amy Adams Strunk. And so I think that's why he will be the Titans' next head coach in 2026. That's just me. Again, they could go a completely different way, but they will cling to, if Mike Borgonzi is picking that coach, there is hope. If Amy Adams Strunk and Chad Brinker are picking that coach, then there is not. Hit some more. Of course, yes, Arden Key, boys, he did build the city. Don't you forget it. I appreciate, Duval 23. We are going to dog walk Tennessee. We are not taking a bad team for granted anymore. Ether Dark says that's been my take since week 3. I agree. And I think that's a good place to close on here as we wrap up on a Tuesday edition of Club 904. This idea of Liam Cohen doesn't want you to apologize for winning, even when you beat a mediocre or a team in the Arizona Cardinals that the ball continues to not bounce their way. You shouldn't apologize for that. And in the same vein, you should not be playing to the level of your competition. You should be playing to the level of your standard. And that is something that I think the previous regimes here in Jacksonville have certainly said. I don't know if they've been as vocal about it and instilled confidence that permeates and showcases that there are ways that you can create daily habits and daily disciplines to ensure that that doubt doesn't creep back in of same old Jags. And I think this idea of instilling confidence in Trevor Lawrence by going for it on 4th down, instilling confidence in your defense by saying, hey, if we don't get it on 4th down, we know you guys are going to get a stop for us. You may not like some of those decisions. I was listening to NFL Daily this morning, and I know poor Patrick Claybon is losing his mind with some of Liam Cohen's decisions. But ultimately, those decisions are being made because those are the decisions that Liam Cohen is going to make time and time again 3-4 years from now, when hopefully the Jaguars are a top 10 team in the National Football League. He wants them to start acting like it now. And by acting and being about it now, it will be second nature when push comes to shove, when you actually are in Super Bowl contention. But the Jaguars, technically, as Mike DiRocco put it, and this can be your last dance for the day, folks. Mike DiRocco, ESPN Analytics, pointing out the Jaguars, a 6% chance to reach the Super Bowl, yet just a 4% chance to make the AFC Championship game. Make it make sense for me. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on Club 904 on a Tuesday. We are off on Thursday, but don't you worry. We will have your post-game coverage on Sunday, 9:04 p.m. Knuckleheads, wherever you get your Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel, that is where we will be. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Shout out to Brent and Austin again for getting Josh Hines-Allen not only on the air, but also supporting him and the 41 for All campaign nonprofit and what they're doing to support children and families that are fighting childhood cancer and other adversity. We appreciate you guys. We will see you